as the Holy Ghost, amen. We're going to be here in Kent, in England here, on this feast of St. Mary Magdalene. Today is the feast of St. Mary Magdalene, which in the earlier days of the church would be considered one of the greatest of the feasts of the saints throughout the whole year. St. Augustine says of Mary Magdalene that what we can say of her is that she is the first. She is the very first one who knew the reason for Christ's coming. She is the first one to come straight to the purpose of our Lord Jesus Christ. And Jacobus of Voragine, the life of St. Mary Magdalene, says she is the one who received the sweet excuses of our Lord Jesus Christ. And if you look at the life of our Lord, he cursed the Pharisees, he called Peter Satan, he corrected the apostles, but there was one lady whom he never corrected. There was one lady that he never said a negative word to, and when everything was bad said about her, our Lord Jesus Christ made excuses. And that was Mary Magdalene. And so St. Augustine tells us she was accused of 3 great sins. Firstly, she was unclean. The very first time that we see Mary Magdalene, remember that she was possessed of 7 devils. And she was a prostitute. She was living an evil life. And she was not living this life because of poverty. She was not living this life because of the fact she had difficult circumstances. She was born a very wealthy lady. She was in charge of the castle of Magdala, very near the city of Jerusalem. She had a wealthy sister named Martha and a wealthy brother named Lazarus, and they were an extremely important and wealthy family throughout in the area of Jerusalem. And she turned to wickedness because of her desire for pleasure, and she turned to wickedness because of her desire for sin, even though she was raised in a good family. She was raised with a saint for a brother. She was raised with a saint for a sister. She was raised with a wonderful father and mother. But she turned away from God. And when she turned away from God, she turned away with her whole heart. And she turned away with her whole soul and her whole body. And most likely, the fathers seem to intimate that she most likely saw Jesus Christ for the first time when he preached the sermon of the prodigal son. That this particular day, it tells us in the Gospel of St. Luke, he was surrounded by the publicans and the sinners. The sinners were those that lived the impure life and were known for their impurity. And most famous amongst those sinners, most likely, was Mary Magdalene. She was one amongst that crowd. And she heard the sermon of Christ. The heaven rejoices more at one sinner's return to God than a shepherd that finds one lost sheep, than a woman who finds a lost silver piece, than a father who returns the love of his returned prodigal son. And then she went back, and she was very wealthy, and she took the ointment, the nard, worth great amounts of money, thousands of dollars, and she went to Christ. And she did not wait for the right time. Bishop Sheen tells us there's one thing we see about St. Mary Magdalene, and that she never bothered about the situation or the time. She was not a respecter of persons. When she went to Jesus Christ, she went to him, and if he was busy, then that's too bad. He was there at a table at Simon the Pharisee, and he was at dinner by the time she was ready to go and see him, and she went straight in. And Jacobus tells us she would not look at his face because she was not worthy to look at his face. And she did not speak to him because she need not speak to him, because she heard his words. And she knew that he came to forgive sins. And St. Augustine says, here is where St. Mary Magdalene is the very first. He had 12 apostles. He had many disciples. He had thousands that were following him already for a year or 2 years. But none of them knew why he came. And this woman who was living in sin saw him one time. And she saw his sacred heart. And she saw the purpose of his coming, and she immediately went straight to the source, and she immediately went straight to the purpose. She is the first of all the saints of the New Testament. She would be a saint before anyone else. Her heart would be filled with the divine love before Peter was filled with it, before the apostles were filled with it. She came in and she wept and she poured her tears upon his feet, and she wiped his feet with her hair. And she was called unclean. And Jacobus tells us, he says, our Lord Jesus Christ will not tolerate even the thought of a criticism of this woman. Therefore, he says, she is not unclean. Simon, I have something against you, because when I came into your house, you did not wash my forehead. You did not wash my hands. But behold, this woman, she has not ceased to wash my feet. And she hath been forgiven, because she hath loved much. What are the very first words that Jesus Christ speaks to Mary Magdalene? She has loved much. He felt her perfect love, which wiped away the multitude of sins. Our Lord, the Gospel tells us, charity wipes away the multitude of sins. Charity covers sins. And the Fathers also tell us, she wept upon the feet. Now, what are the feet? The feet are our actions. The feet are the things that we do in life. And we commit sins with our feet. And we do evil things with our feet. What cleans the feet? What wipes it all away? What takes away all of our evil actions? The tears of the charity of Mary Magdalene. She was called unclean, and our Lord would not allow it. And the second time we meet St. Mary Magdalene, she is accused of another sin. She is lazy. There are 3 accusations of Mary Magdalene. 1, she is unclean. And 2, she's lazy. We meet her with Martha. And once again, Martha is cleaning the tables and setting up for the meal. And we meet Mary Magdalene the second time. And what is she doing? She's sitting on the floor at the feet of our Lord Jesus Christ. And Martha is angry. Says, tell her to get to work. Tell her to get to work, because she was always lazy when she was a child. That's why she went bad to begin with. You can imagine what the kitchen was like when Martha went out and spoke to our Lord and smiled. She went back in the kitchen. There she is again, that wicked woman. I can't believe it. Now she's a saint. And now she's in there listening to our Lord. And oh, she's so holy. She's not doing nothing. She's lazy. I'm going to say something the next time. And finally, she couldn't take it. Lord, she's lazy. She should be helping and working, especially after her life, for heaven's sakes. She needs to do penance. And our Lord Jesus said, Martha, Martha, thou art solicitous about many things, but she hath chosen the better part, and it shall not be taken from her. And St. Augustine tells us, look to Mary Magdalene, because she knows the best part. And she never chose anything less than the best. When she sinned, she was the worst. But when she came back to God, she was the best. And she is the example of all saints. Mary Magdalene. She simply sat at the foot of our Lord. And remember, when she was there at the foot of our Lord, the apostles were there. And they were listening to him. And she is first to St. Augustine because she knew that he was the truth. And he is the truth, whereas the apostles thought he only spoke the truth. They did not know yet that he was the truth. He had to tell them on Holy Thursday night, I am the way, I am the truth, and I am the life. But he did not have to tell Mary Magdalene that. Because when she first saw him, she knew that he was the only way. And we will never find the St. Mary Magdalene ever go in another direction than Christ. Even when he's dead, even when he is gone, even when the tomb is empty, there is no other way for Mary Magdalene. St. Augustine tells us she is the one who called back Christ from the dead. He came back from the dead, why? Because of Mary Magdalene. Because even though he could not be found, even though his body was gone, she was the only one still looking for him. All went to the tomb on Easter Sunday morning. And she went to the tomb, and they saw the stone is rolled back, There is a shroud there. There's a strange man saying he's risen, he's not here. The soldiers are gone. And what has happened? We must tell the world about it. But Mary Magdalene does not care what has happened. She only wants to find him, and she searches for him when he cannot be found. And here he teaches the saints. She teaches the saints. There will become times in the life of the saint where they are in the dark night, where they are separated from Christ, and where they don't know where to find him, and where he has been taken away. And what are they to do? Imitate Mary Magdalene. She searched for him when he could not be found. When did she learn this? When she sat at the foot of Christ. She did not listen to what he was saying. She listened to the sound of his voice. And she listened to the voice of the truth. And that is why, when our Lord Jesus Christ rose from the dead and he appeared to Mary Magdalene, she did not recognize him. Why did she not recognize him? Because she was not attentive to his face. She thought he was a gardener. Not only did she think he was a gardener, but he was also guilty, because the body is gone. You're the first man I saw after his body is gone, therefore you're guilty, you did it. And therefore Mary Magdalene says to the gardener, Master, tell me, where hast thou laid him, that I might go and complete the burial? And St. Bernard has a sermon on this conversation, and St. Bernard says, I am proud, says our Lord Jesus Christ, that you have called me a gardener. For I am a gardener, and I will till your soul, and I will plant the seed of faith, and plant the seed of divine love, and plant the seed of sanctity, and plant the seed of heaven in your soul, and I will not let anyone else touch your soul. I am proud that you consider me a gardener, for I am a gardener, because I alone will till your soul. And therefore Jesus Christ was pleased when she said, Are you a gardener, Master? Tell me, where have you laid him? And he said only one word, Mary. And when he said that word, she recognized him immediately, because she had attuned her ears to his voice. She understood that he was the truth. She was accused of idleness. And our Lord Jesus Christ says she is not idle, for she is attuning her heart. She is teaching the saints of the next 2,000 years that what is necessary to be close to God is to sit at his feet. What is necessary to be a saint is to listen to his words and to tune in our whole mind and heart into him. And notice it is Mary Magdalene that does it, not John. John, who is a beloved apostle, he is distracted. John, who was born innocent and who lived innocent, he is distracted. But this sinner has turned her heart completely to God and has gone straight to the essentials. And therefore the second accusation, says St. Augustine, he will not tolerate. She is not idle. And then the third accusation. It is whole Monday of Holy Week, or Wednesday of Holy Week. And she comes in to wipe the feet of our Lord with the oils. She does not know that he is going to die. But she feels what is in his heart. She feels that his heart is becoming sorrowful, but the others don't recognize it yet. She feels that he is getting close to a great act of pouring himself out for the love of sinners. But she doesn't understand, but she feels, she senses, she has the heart of the lover. She has such a deep love of him that she knows what is going on inside of his heart when the apostles do not know. And therefore she comes with ointment, with alabaster oil. And she is going to pour the oil on his feet, worth over $1,000 for a little bitty bottle of oil. And here we see the wastefulness of Mary Magdalene, and the wastefulness that is the height of charity, the wastefulness that is in the saints, the wastefulness that is necessary in order to be a follower of Christ. And she went in and she broke the oil, and it went all over the floor, and maybe 2 drops hit the feet of our Lord, because she was not patient. She went to pour the alabaster oil